Start our webinar topic. So our webinar flow would be like this, that first we'll talk about the strategies, why we need the strategies, how is it, what all things we should look at while we are formulating the strategies, and what are the steps we should take to make strategies. We have put in here 2 case studies, which are real life examples of the studies we had executed in past, and we'll sum it up with key takeaways. So the most important question here is why market strategy? So there are 3 things. First, we are looking at the changing market landscape. We see that the demand is not growing as fast as the capacity is growing. And there is a lot of capacity surplus, which means that we should be positioning ourselves very correctly to be able to garner the market share and to be able to increase our revenues. And as the things go today, across world, we are witnessing a lot of mergers and acquisitions, which makes the bigger companies bigger and the smaller and medium-sized companies are under a lot of pressure to be able to sustain themselves. And in such a scenario, for a new player to enter in, it is very important for them to have a correct value proposition, to have a strategy in place to be able to enter the market and be there for a long time. And because we have a surplus market, it is very important to be consumer-oriented. So we need market orientation, where we listen to what the consumer is saying and we align ourselves to the consumer. With this comes our brand image, how we are doing the marketing, and how we are clearly defining our value proposition so that we stand out in this surplus market. Now, when we are looking at market strategy, we need to know what to study. What to study, we need to look at all the aspects of what the market looks like, which includes our customers. Who are our customers? What are their needs? Why do they buy the cement? What is it that they are looking at in our product? Who are the influencers who are influencing their decision? What is the price point they're ready to buy the cement at? And then we need to look at the competitive landscape. So we need to map our competitors. We need to see how many competitors are there. Where are they coming from? What are their strategies? What are they offering? So we need to analyze what the competitors look like. And then we need to know what is the market? What is the demand supply? How many players are there? What are their market shares? How are they positioning their brands? What are they doing for branding? What are the advertising and promotions they are doing? And as we all know, most of the cement which is sold is through our channel partners. So it is very important for us to know what our channel partners want. What are the margins they want to have? What are the credit terms? What kind of technical support do they need from us? Or non-technical support also? What are the delivery times they're looking at? So this is the complete market landscape which we need to look at. So next, what we are looking at is our approach and methodology to formulate the strategy. So first is the market insight and situation analysis, like I just talked about, that we need to have a look at the complete market, see where are we placed in this market, and see where the future looks like. Where is this market moving to? Next, we need to define the strategies. Strategies means we need to clearly define that these are our goals, these are our objectives. We need to define the tangible KPIs so that we can quantify what we need to achieve. If we don't quantify what has to be achieved, we won't be able to achieve our goals. And once we made the strategy, then it is very important to implement those strategies, which includes action plans. And once we start acting on those action plans, we need to periodically measure it and see whether we are going in the right direction or not. If we are not going in the right direction, then we need to do a course correction and align our goals, align our actions to the goal that we are making. Now, next is what we're looking at is we know what to look at, we know what to study. Now, the question is how do we study all this? We are saying, yes, we need to look at the market environment. We need to see where we are. So what we do is that we do industry projections, which is basically demand supply projections, and we look at the marketing environment. For industry projection, we do the environment scanning. We look at the environment that we are in, which includes the political scenario. What are the government policies? What are the taxes? Are there any pro business policies which would affect us? What are the infrastructure projects which are coming up, which would boost the demand? What is the socio-cultural environment? What is the economic scenario looks like? Is it a growing economy? Growing economy means growth for all businesses. And then we need to look at, are there any technological shifts? Are people going on for, say, greener cements? Are people replacing cement by some other kind of constructions? Like a lot of buildings these days are glass and steel instead of 100% concrete. And we need to look at past demand supply. So this together gives us industry projections. And then we look at the marketing environment, in which we do an extensive market research to get a feel of the market. And we see where our company is. How are we addressing that market? How have we positioned our product? What is our price? How are we, which customers are we targeting? So this gives us the market environment and where are we positioned. So based on this, we look at our competitive advantage in the market. How are we competitively placed vis-a-vis our competitors? And what are the attractive markets in our target market, which we should be targeting? We'll talk about this competitive advantage and market attractiveness in the following slides. So all this gives us our strategic findings. This tells us what are the options we have. And we need to align these options with the business objectives. What is it that the company is looking for? And based on this, the strategies are derived. So first thing we do is we do the industry projection, which is the demand supply gap. Demand projection is basically quantitative forecasting we do based on various parameters like GDP, population, oil prices if it is relevant, time series analysis. But these demand projections are substantiated by data we get from the market intelligence. What is government doing for infrastructure? What is happening in housing? Excuse me. So all this put together gives us demand projections. And then we look at the supply also, that what are the current plants and what capacities are we expecting would be added. Next thing is the marketing environment. In the marketing environment, first thing that we look at is our customers and what are their changing preferences. Whether our customers are individual house builders, whether they are RMC players, who are the influence? Are there architects? In rural market, it could be masons, contractors. What are the prices they are looking at? What are their preferences? Do they prefer price? Do they prefer quality? Are they going for a certain brand? And then next thing we look at is positioning and price. What is our price? And how do we position ourselves? What is it that is driving the price in the market? And what is the trends that we are looking at? And next comes buying and selling behavior. Buying behavior starts from the point a customer is planning to buy cement to the point the customer purchases it. So it involves the complete cycle. What all brands do they know about? Who's influencing their decision? What is it that is making them finally decide on the cement that they want to purchase? And it also the selling behavior, that how is the company approaching the market? Other is the distribution and dispatch. If we look at the distribution and dispatch, then with the evolving technology, now there is artificial intelligence, which helps in managing the logistics, which is a very big cost of delivering the cement to the market. So that is very important. We need to see whether it's a bulk market, it's a bag market, what is it that customers are looking for. And of course, advertising and promotion. We need to reach out to our people, to our customers. So this is about the marketing environment. I'm not.
Yeah. This is an important slide in terms of how a company gains competitive advantage in any market, whether it be in India or whether it be at a sub state level, say a district. So this is called a competitive advantage market attractiveness model. The model basically looks at markets where your landed cost of production is lower than your competitor, selling price by and large remaining what they are, your NSR should be higher, and thereby which your EBITDA should be higher. So let's take an example. Imagine you're sitting in, you have a plant in Neemrana, and you're supplying cement from there to Delhi. Your competitors are supplying cement again to Delhi from Chittorgarh. Now, given different cost of productions, obviously in Chittorgarh area as well as Nimbahara area or Nimka Thana area, the plant which is closer to Delhi will have a lower delivered cost because the freight would be lower. Now imagine there are 5 players and one player is closer to Delhi. Typically speaking, his NSR would be higher than a player who is supplying from Chittorgarh. Now, cost of production between a player in Chittorgarh and say a Nimka Thana would not vary too much, probably 5% or less plus minus. So in other words, EBITDA being generated by a plant closer to Delhi would be higher. Now, just because the EBITDA is higher, or in other words, the freight cost is lower, does not mean that you can sell more. But what you can do with that delta in EBITDA, that makes all the difference in terms of gaining higher market share. So let's say the EBITDA from Chittorgarh is 800 rupees and from Nimka Thana is say 1200 rupees. So this 400 rupees is put back into the system in order to create more pull for your product and gain more loyalty from the channel members. It also creates an advantage of a quicker turnaround time to deliver cement to the end user. So now if you look at this particular pie chart out here, we look at cost to market. This data is gathered from our own analysis and database that we have assimilated over the last 55 years. We look at market research to look at preferences as well as quantified data like prices, margins, so on and so forth. We look at the environment to see what is happening, what kind of construction is happening, what is the buying behavior of various segments, and then choose to position our product whether in trade or in non-trade, or the ratio between trade and non-trade and segment-wise based on what's happening in the external environment. We obviously will project the demand which is likely to take place in each of the industries and each of the markets. Looking at this together, what we arrive on is how much volume, for example, you can sell in Delhi. Now, that is, let's call it an analytical result that we get. But the strategies that come out looks at this base figure of how much of volume we can sell, say, for example, in Delhi. Delhi being a market size of roughly, say, 5 million ton, and let's say hypothetically that 20% market share is what you should be able to get given your landed cost in Delhi. The question arises now is, how do I sell it? To whom do I sell it? And what all do I need to do in order to sell it? So the base becomes how much do I want to sell in Delhi given my capacities? And what all needs to be done becomes the basis of my strategies. One of the key issues that always has to be addressed, which often is not, is what is the value proposition that you are bringing on the table for your cement type. That means OPC, PPC, in certain markets, PSC, at the price point at which you are willing to sell. Now, suppose two cement companies are selling the same product in the market, and there is no distinction between the value that both the cement types are delivering. Then, what is the basis on which you or me as a cement company can charge a different price? So that value proposition has to be very carefully derived and communicated to the end user, as well as all the channel members and influencers who are going to directly or indirectly aid in selling a certain volume that you have targeted in that market.
So this is what basically the methodology looks like, where while we are making the strategy, we look at what the market is like, we look at the complete market environment, we look at where we are positioned. So when we are delivering something to the customer, we deliver the complete market scenario, which includes demand supply gaps, the complete market trends. We look at the competitive analysis. Where are we? How competitive are we in which market? Which markets are attractive to us? If required, do we need to open depots? Do we need to open BCTs, GU? Do we need to do capacity expansion because we are not able to reach and increase our market share and our market presence? And of course, we look at, after we have formulated the strategies, we look at the action plans, and we also periodically review the actions. Now, what it brings to the client is what is most important. It helps them to enhance and maintain market presence. It helps them to increase their revenue because they are targeting the right markets which are giving better prices and better NSR. And it increases the absolute revenue also because you're selling more cement. It also helps in optimizing the distribution network. The lead distance decreases because now you're targeting the right markets. And then there are action plans which are helping you execute those strategies. So after that, we have two case studies here. The first case study is what we did for a new player which was entering into the cement market. So it was a market entry strategy for a cement player in CIS countries. So the problem statement here, what we understood was that our client, whom we are calling as ABC Cement Limited, was a new entrant in the market. And typically in all CIS countries, there are very few players who are dominating the market. So it is not very easy to enter such markets. So our task was to make strategies so that they can gain entry into the market and at the same time stay there for a long time. Because if strategies are not correctly in place, you might have to at some point exit the market. So the key objectives here were, of course, we were looking at the complete market scenario. Which market are we entering? What are our opportunities? What are our threats? What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? And we look at the competitiveness to figure out how much sales volume are they likely to sell? What are the sales revenue are we looking at? And then the strategies were developed and action plans were put in place to implement those strategies. With this client, we did quarterly monitoring of strategies, and we were with them for almost a year. This is what broadly the market looked like. It was, if we look at it, the demand was 3.5 and capacity was 4. Although it looks like a market which is surplus, there were still imports coming in because some of the plants were old and some plants were importing clinker from outside to manufacture cement. So they were not really working at 100% capacity utilization. That's why 20% were getting imported. It was 50-50 bulk and bag market, mostly blended cement. And most of the cement here was getting dispatched by road. The rail was very minimal. Company was importing cement through both sea and rail from the companies it was with the countries it was which had railway connectivity. First thing we did was we did the market analysis. The environment is what we studied. We looked at the political factors. It was a stable country. It ranked high in doing business, and there were no rules and regulation which were not in favor of the cement industry. So cement industry could really flourish. And their economy was good. And GDP was expected to grow well in the future. This was a country which had housing shortage. So there was a lot of emphasis from the government to overcome this housing shortage. And they were also rehabilitating some internally displaced people within the country. And then there was some shift which was happening, that a lot of concrete roads were planned, RMC usage was increasing, and building types were changing because they were moving towards green buildings, which meant less usage of cement and more of glass and steel. Then we did a competitive analysis through a Porter's 5-force model. So we looked at the vertical competition and the horizontal competition. In the vertical competition, we looked at the bargaining power of suppliers. Here, the fuel used was natural gas. But because the suppliers were selling gas to other companies also, other industries rather, and they were also exporting, so they had a fairly high bargaining power. Plus, as a cement company, a cement plant cannot switch from gas to coal. That facility was not there in most of the plants. So for them, they had to buy gas from the suppliers only. And as far as bargaining power of buyers was concerned, it was medium. There were limited number of companies. That is where most of the companies were buying, most of the clients were buying the cement from. And for any big client, say an RMC or a block manufacturer, it is not possible for them to backward integrate because setting up a cement plant is expensive. So we found that bargaining power of buyers was medium. If we look at the horizontal competition, degree of rivalry we assessed was from medium to high. There were 3 dominant players in the market. Although the market was growing fine, but the product differentiation was low, which means that brand was very important. Threats of new entrants was found to be low. They were not because the investment is high and the product differentiation was low. Threat of substitute was also, as we all know, threat of substitute for cement as on date is low. Now, based on our assessment of market environment, market scenario, and we came up with the strategies where we said that where should we sell, to which target market, whom should we sell to, what should be our customers, what should we sell, what should be our product mix, and whether we should sell bulk, bag, what kind of bags, and the most important, how do we sell. So I'll just take you through quickly through each one of these, what we decided in where to sell, like Mr. Verma was explaining some time back in our competitive advantage and market attractiveness model. At a very granular level, we do a complete competitive mapping to finally arrive at how much volume should be sold in which market. In each district was what we planned out for them, and we gave them what market share, how can this market share be growing in the market. Then for each of these markets, it was defined that which customer segmentation should be, whether it should be through trade channel, we should target the retail customers, or if it was a place where there were a lot of big projects coming, then maybe we should target RMCs. And how much volumes to each of these segments should we actually be selling was what was covered in whom. And based on whatever was the product mix and the trends that we saw in the market, we looked at the product mix and packaging for each of these districts. Now, in how to sell, we answered 7 things. One was, what should be the distribution channel? Where should we have depots and stock points? Our logistics, our brands, advertising. What should the sales organization look like? And how we should maintain our management information system. So in how to sell, we looked at the distribution channel. So we saw that for each market, we mapped that in each of the markets, in each of the regions, how many dealers, distributors, of what size, and if you should have sub-dealers, what kind of margins and credit terms should we look at, what kind of support should be provided from the company's side to the distribution channel. We looked at where all should the depots be and what size should we look at. Logistics for this company was 100% by road. So we recommended the truck size for various markets, depending upon how far the market is and how big the market is. And then it was recommended that the company should position their cement as high price cement, because there was a strong perception in the market that only a high price cement is good quality. If cement is not high price, it is not good quality. Then we looked at advertising and promotion. It was a country where advertising and promotion was very limited. There was advertising and promotion activities, but very limited. So we took the learnings from India, and we suggested that how advertising and marketing is very important. And they actually benefited from those suggestions. In the sales organization, we talked about how many people should be there and how they should support the channel partners, because most of the sales here was happening ex-gate. But you need to make sure that customers actually come to you and buy your cement and don't go to some other factory. So for that, you need salesperson to attract and book the sales so that they could come and buy it from you. So this was something which was suggested. And of course, we designed the management information system for them. What all reports, who should get it, what should be the content, where should it originate from, what should be the frequency of the reports. Now, to sum it up, once we had made the action plans, we made the strategy, and for each strategy, we made the list of actions to be taken. And then, like I said before, we clearly defined the timelines, targets, and we monitored it quarterly basis. If we look at the company today, where it stands, it is a very established player in the market. Country now does not have any imports. It is self-sufficient. It has one of the highest capacity utilization in the country, more than the average, and it is the second largest player in the market. So this was the success story of our strategy study in one of the CIS countries. I'll take you to the next case study now. This next case study we did in India. This was a pair which was in western region of India. And we did a market strategy for them. This was not an entry market strategy. It was a player which was already in the market for past 20 years. And but they were struggling to maintain their capacity utilization. They were struggling to gain market share and increase volumes. And it was seen by the company that if they continue not continue working at this capacity utilization, their absolute EBITDA may decrease to a level where they just might go in red. So once we met the client, we identified 5 markets. Basically, 5 districts were identified where they thought that we need to study these markets in detail. We need to do a complete drill down analysis to figure out that how is it that these are very attractive markets, serviceable from the plant, but they are not able to service it and gain market share and maintain their presence there. So we looked at these 5 markets. We studied the complete market. We made the strategy. We made the action plan. And of course, we did periodic reviews. Here we did monthly reviews, and we were with the company for almost a year. In the subsequent slide, I'll just show you one of the 5 districts, just to give you a idea of what we did when we did this study. This was one district we studied, which had a demand of around 120,000 tons per month. It had 2 major players which had more than 50% share. Player 1 had 35%, player 2 had 20%, and our player was a distant third at 10%. It was basically a blended cement market. Trade was more than non-trade, like a typical market in India. Then we did competitors mapping. It was very important to know where is player 1, where is player 2, and why are we so far away from those players. So when we looked at the market share, we realized that although they are doing very well in trade, they are almost doing as good as the second biggest player. They had a market share of 16% in trade, in non-trade. But in trade, they were not doing so well. In trade, they had only 7% market share. So trade was the area where they needed to really focus. We saw that other players had 4 depots, 2 depots, whereas our player had just 1 depot, and they were doing lesser volumes from their depot as compared to the other 2 players. Whereas it was what we found was that all depots were almost of the same size and capacity. So there was no reason for our player to do lesser volumes from that particular depot. They also had very minimal dealers. They had only 8 dealers, which also explains why their market share was so low. And there was no digitalization of channel. There, everything was offline. Whereas the other 2 players had made order placement, real-time delivery tracking, looking at what all products are available, credit policies, everything was available online, which made it easier for the channel partners to work with them. Branding and positioning was something which was really in favor of our client. Although they were positioned as brand B, the brand image was as good as player 1 and player 2. It was perceived as a very good cement brand. There were certain strengths which were there for our player, that they were offering good cement at affordable price. If we look at this, their plant was located 70 kilometers away from the market, whereas player 1 was also 70 kilometers away, and they had a market share of 35%, whereas our player was able to gain a market share of only 10%. If we look at the weaknesses, one major weakness was there was lack of brand awareness in the trade market. People did not identify with this brand as much as they identified with the other 2 brands. And the rural market presence was very limited. Whereas in that district, 25% of cement came from the rural market. So we propose that this is what present looks like and what we should be targeting. We said that we should target a market share of 14%. And this, we suggested that non-trade volumes are good. We have a good market share of 16-17%, which should be maintained. But trade volumes are really low. So we suggested doubling the trade volumes. We have a market share of 7% in trade. Company should be easily able to double it. There was a need to strengthen the trade channel. So we suggested opening 1 more depot, increasing the dealers, distributors. And we said we need to digitalize the channel so that there are dealers who are coming to you because they're already used to that digital platform from the other 2 companies. Price positioning, we thought they can keep where it is. And we suggested special cement where they can make better margin, and it is a cement which sells well in trade channel. Then for brand awareness, we thought that it was important for them to create social media presence. They had nil social media presence, and they needed to increase their point of purchase visibility. Similarly, in rural market also, where we thought they were not really selling well, they needed to make their cement available in the market and have POP ads, wall painting and everything in the rural market, because that is what attracts the customer. When they come to the cement shop, they should be able to see your cement and buy it. So for what we proposed 4 action plans. First was to enhance channel network. If we are planning to increase our market share in trade and sell more, then of course we need to enhance our channel network. We identified that although in south and west they were fine, in north and east part of the district their presence was very low, whereas that is where most of the cement was getting consumed. So we suggested that in north and east part of the district you need to have better dealer and sub-dealer network. Some of their dealers were very inactive, so those dealers needed to be revived, and some dealers were asked to let go because some dealers were not working very well and new dealers were appointed. And there was also a more emphasis that needed to be put on sub-dealers, so that sub-dealers who are selling more cement for us should be given more importance, more incentives, and dealers were also given target and incentives so that they could sell more and create more sub-dealers. And of course, sub-dealers in rural market was also something which we suggested, because rural market is where they did not have a lot of presence. So action 1 was to enhance channel network. Action 2 was that what all can we do to sell our cement in rural areas? Of course, we need to put our cement in the retail market in the rural areas. We need to make sub-dealers so that they can keep our cement. But at the same time, we need to have we need to have a word with the influencers, which are masons, small contractors, village heads, so that they could increase our product and they could push our product in the market. There were certain incentives which were proposed for the influence, that if a contractor or mason uses our cement and gives us certain volumes, they were given certain incentives. And of course, shop paintings, POP material, this point of purchase advertising material was suggested so that the visibility is there. And the next action that we suggested was to track sub-dealers. We said sub-dealers are mostly multi-brand shops. So they're not just selling your cement, they're also selling other brands. So we have to push the sub-dealers to sell our brand. And sub-dealers which were selling more of our brand than other brands were given special incentives. So sub-dealer tracking and giving them incentives and pushing them to sell more of our cement was important. And another thing was proactively developing, tracking what is happening in the market. So a complete market information system was made where it was said that we should make a structured report and we should analyze it at periodic intervals to see how much are dealers and sub-dealers selling, how much volumes are they selling, not just us, but our competitors also. What is the prices at which they are selling? What are the inventory levels at each of our channel member partners? So these were the 4 actions. Once we suggested these 4 actions, I would like you to have a look at what we achieved at the end of this exercise. We achieved almost 90% of our target. We had targeted 10,000 TPM, tons per month of sales and trade. We achieved 8,500. Non-trade volumes, they were able to maintain. Another depot was added. More dealers and retailers were added. Digitalization of channel, of course, that is something which takes time and it is in progress. And in the rural market, where they had no presence, after they implemented our recommendation, the sales volumes almost doubled. So if I was to summarize this strategy assignment that we did for this company, we worked with this company for almost a year with monthly reviews. Our Holtec team also went with the sales officers in the field to facilitate sale of cement, motivating the channel members, more in terms of support. If they needed some support in terms of delivery, in terms of credit, notes, and all that support was given. And the current status is that they are working at higher capacity utilization. and their EBITDA has increased by almost 200 rupees per ton because of better sales, better targeting, and better uh, pricing of the products. And if we look at it, and this is the exercise we did in all 5 districts simultaneously. So this was another case study that I want to share with you. Now, this is just a sample dashboard which we make while we are working on assignments like this. This is just in each of these cells can be further clicked, and we can go inside to see further details.